Welcome to the Missouri Healthy Schools live podcast. It is Thursday, March 7th at 7 p.m. Central Time. My name is Guy Danoff, and I'll be your host over the next 55 minutes as we bring to you a very special edition as we're going to be talking about advancing employee well-being in schools. We've got a very distinguished panel to help us kick this off, and I'll go ahead and bring them on one at a time. And first one we're going to bring is Dr. Ashley Krause. Dr. Krause, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just changing the screens around. And you're with the Farmington School District, obviously the associate superintendent. We've had you on many times, and it's going to be fun tonight because we're going to get a chance to catch up on what's been going on with you guys' employee wellness. So this is going to be kind of fun.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to bring on another guest. We're going to bring on Alex. There's Alex. Alex was with the Monet R1 School District. She's the wellness coordinator. Alex, how are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. This is a lot of fun. We got one more, and we're going to bring on Chelsea Davenport from Neosho School District. She is the wellness liaison. Chelsea, it's great to have you back. I've had you on several times now, and how are things?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yes, so this is kind of going to be a lot of fun. So what I want to do is go ahead and start things. I'm going to just change that over just a second. Here we go. Okay. And now I want to bring up our very first question. So again, tonight, just so everyone's aware, we're going to be talking about advancing employee well-being in schools. So the first question I have, and I'm actually going to direct this to Chelsea. Chelsea, why did you begin employee wellness initiatives, and why was it so important for your school district to start them?
I think the biggest reason that we went in this direction to have a wellness program was to get in control of the claims that were coming in from our staff. So, whether it was for diabetes or whether it was for high cholesterol, just all these things were kind of spiraling out of whack. And so we were trying to get a handle on that. I'm an employee of Freeman Health Systems. And so me being connected and having resources from the hospital, it was a really win-win for our district. Our insurance policies are connected with Freeman. And then also we have an EAP for our staff that they can tap into for all kinds of resources, whether it be counseling resources, whether to find new physicians, crisis hotline. So we were really wanting to bring more awareness to our staff and to our district, as a whole, to take care of themselves. We offer many different opportunities throughout the school year for them to be able to take control of their well-being as a whole.
Okay. And so with that, Alex, how about you? Why did you guys begin the employee wellness initiatives at your school, and why was it so important to get this off the ground?
Yeah, so Mona was actually very fortunate. We actually received a grant in 2013 from the Missouri Foundation for Health called Healthy Schools, Healthy Communities. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it was a childhood obesity prevention grant. And it had a huge community partnership. So we were doing all of these things to make our students healthy. So it just streamlined with that work to why we should be focusing on our staff too. If we wanted our students at the school healthy, we wanted our staff to be healthy also. But just like Chelsea said, our claims had been really high. I actually got brought on for that grant position and then kind of put into the staff role. And we had annual screening days where we would, do biometric screenings, and just our participation was so low, but our number of doctor visits and claims and everything else was so high that it just made sense to start focusing on staff wellness as well.
Absolutely. And then Dr. Cross, I want to ask you the same question. And obviously we've heard previously with Missouri Healthy Schools broadcast, you've got a pretty storied journey. I was wondering if you could tell us kind of where did it all begin for you guys there in your school district with Farmington.
Sure. So I'll ditto exactly what both ladies just said. Definitely, I would say with staff members, they tend to focus a lot on students and don't focus on themselves. And we are with school, whole community, whole child. And that employee wellness portion of it was something that we were in no way, shape, or form tapping into at the time. So again, insurance claims through the roof, and kind of morale going down, and culture climate became a focus. So with that, it was just a win-win situation, just like the two ladies said. We got a couple grants, and starting off tiny, just built from there, and started attempting to focus on ourselves as well.
So one of the questions that we like to ask here at the Missouri Healthy schools is, and Chelsea, that comes straight back to you. Did you collect any employee data from survey results or use any statistics to inform your wellness strategies?
I've been with the district for 4 years, and I know when I first had my very first meeting with our superintendent, he had showed me he'd gotten a booklet from the insurance company that kind of gave us the pie chart of
Okay, yeah,
where we were. So
yeah,
I was privy to that right when I started, and so therefore, and I'll probably go into this a little bit more in detail. I made a kind of wellness wheel of health, and so I
yeah.
targeted the areas that we were really needing to focus on, and so that's kind of what drives my wellness program. I look
Okay.
at that data that we received early on when I started in the district and just kind of dominated from there.
And you just kept collecting each and every year, I'm
Yes,
assuming.
each
Yeah.
and every year. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
perfect. Alex, how about you? Same question. Did you guys collect any employee data or using any statistics?
Absolutely. So it's changed from year to year. When I first started in 2013 with our program, that was also around the time that the state was rehauling wellness policies. So at the time, we did the school health index to kind of assess,
Yep.
kind of put some staff things in place, and then surveyed the staff at the end of the year what they liked, what they would like to see. We've kind of done different things going forward. We have still done that school health index, but we also do the CDC health scorecard. To kind of see what areas we're hitting. So to make sure we're hitting all of our school staff, not just the teachers, but the maintenance, custodial, and things as well.
Okay, then Ashley, I'll ask you the same question. Did you collect any employee data from survey results or did you use any statistics to influence your wellness strategies?
Yes, we did. So again, I'll ditto what they said. Insurance was huge, that data.
Okay.
Our insurance committee came together and analyzed that. We used the SHI, School Health Index,
Yep.
really to pinpoint some of the areas that we needed to work on. We also have a school employee assistance program where there was a lot of, there was an uptick in some of the behavioral health supports that staff members were actually tapping into. So we started to look at that to see if, maybe that was an area that we needed to grow in and provide some additional supports for our staff members.
Well, that's good. Obviously, data drives decisions. And really, the next question, this is really a benefit to our viewers. And I just want to say this, if you're viewing this right now, you actually can ask any one of the panelists a question. So if you're watching this on the MHS live stream on YouTube, you can just type in the comments and we'd be able to put it up here on the screen for you and answer any questions that you may have for us. So I just want to make sure if you're watching this live right now, you can ask any question you'd like, or if you want to just give a shout out to any of the panelists, feel free to, because I'm sure they would enjoy the shout out. So with that, kind of wrapping up on this, camping out on this first question about how you guys got started. Chelsea, I'm going to come back to you for this final question. Basically, how were you able to communicate this to your employee well-being initiative? I mean, that's probably one of the hardest parts is how did you get the buy-in and how are you able to effectively communicate it?
Well, I think the most important thing that I've been fortunate enough to be able to have is the complete support from the administration.
Mm-hmm.
So when you feel supported like that, you kind of, the sky's the limit. You can offer things. And I'm pretty much a people person. I really do try to get the climate of each building. We have 10 buildings that I get to go walk around and oversee and meet everyone. So I have wellness champions, and we'll probably go into that later, but I have wellness champions in our schools. So they kind of give me a good feedback of what they're needing at their school. Each school is different. Each school has their own vibe. But I would like to say the support that I get from my wellness team and from our superintendent, Dr. Jim Cummins, it's been amazing.
Yeah, well, we might hear this kind of theme the same way too. So Alex, same thing with you. How are you able to communicate this initiative to your employees?
Yeah, so when we started in 2013, our admin team was, already all on board, so we had that ready to go. But for us, it was just kind of repetition and language. So opening meetings, I was there talking about it. New hire trainings, I was there talking about it. Like Chelsea, we have wellness champions, and we can cover that later. But I myself also still to this day do quarterly site visits, so I'm out at each campus, just kind of face to name if they have questions. Just keeping the conversation open, so it's not something that they forget about.
Absolutely. And then Dr. Krause, again, we'll finish with you. How are you able to effectively get the buy-in and certainly get the message out to the employees for this new initiative?
So fortunately, I am at central office. So as we work through leadership team meetings, we do a lot of the professional development ourselves. So it's nice because I have that audience. So we can do leadership training, we can do health and human services training. All the brand new staff members that come in, they get the same message. And so it is nice being at this level to have such a wonderful team that automatically buys into it and brings you ideas. So I would say, we took little baby steps until it grew into an extremely large team. And I'll use, Chelsea's language of, building champions. And that's what they do. They take on that leadership, own it, and they take it further than anybody at a central office level ever could.
Well, you know what? With that, we're just going to go to the next question. Ashley, we're actually going to stick with you, and I'm actually going to bring this up on the screen for your benefit. So let's talk about the second question. How did you begin your employee wellness journey, and what barriers did you obviously experience, and how did you overcome them? And I know you got a few slides for us.
Yeah, so I'll start off with that first slide. This is kind of where we have come. I did put up this, Sean Slade image because I think it's pretty amazing that he just came out with the additions of the culture and the leadership added on to the WISC model. I love it. It definitely sends a message for where we are in building that culture and making sure that you have that leadership portion as you move forward. I'll go through a little bit in a couple other slides of, we started off with the health and human services team. And those were the integral people that health and wellness is important to. That's your physical educators and your nurses and your counselors and your social workers. And we included anybody and everybody, our safety, so that they were big into the behavioral health, our SROs. So with that, I think I've told people before, I thought it was just going to be this beautiful team and we would all work together and the silos would form and, and into beautiful, systems. And, we struggled a little bit at first. And so we had to start off bit by bit. And ultimately, that other image right there where it's, the whole school, whole community wellness strategic plan, we're there, we're working together and we have our strategic plan that is completely built off of that model with our team champions that have taken us forward. So again, it's our structure for problem solving in most everything that we do within our campuses.
Okay.
So one of the things that we did to build staff buy-in 8 years ago, there was a person before me that started off on a smaller scale with a celebratory, kind of just like a couple hours of focusing on health and wellness. And we will be having on March 15th, our 8th annual. It's amazing. So right now we have a little bit less than 500 employees signed up for this. We have 28 sessions that are 3 consecutive. So multiply that by 3, 28 sessions. That many sections. We have keynotes. We have community members, outside, internal. And this is a way in which we get our employees to own it, that we do proposals. It's all just self-driven. And you can see by the pictures, those are the awesome things. They wanted kickboxing, they wanted self-defense, they wanted, the Zumba, and then we have a lot of the other WISC components, which get into the behavioral and mental health that they want to grow with. So
yeah.
This was our teaming. So as you can tell, this is kind of some down and dirty teaming that we have with, you could see our SRO doing jump rope. So everything we did built into, why, having a physical education person teach us why jump roping, something as simple as that, is so important to regulation and brain health and what it does with crossing the body in the midline. And every time we would start in a leadership meeting or professional development, we did these little tiny clips of things just to show. And this was a lot of our norming home visits. Nothing better than throwing a bunch of people in a vehicle that don't know each other and having a visit over a 3-hour time stint with nothing but home visits of positivity wrapped around. Look at you in physical education and your amazing work you've been doing. So all tied back.
Well, can I make a comment? I'm really digging that photo
sure.
on the bottom right. Looks like you're getting some good buy-in on that if they didn't all know each other ahead of time.
Oh yeah. They those are our physical educators and our actually, we don't call him a truancy officer, but he's our attendance guy, and that's our director of safety that's driving. So they're all intermixed in there. So
that's fun. All right. What's our last picture here? This is a good one.
So we bringing the community in. This is a part of our, Wellness Wednesdays, or just getting out and about in the beautiful sunshine, and just making a point for our students to see that their teachers, they're humans, and they need to get out and they need to do grounding and they need to touch the grass, and they need to get out in sunshine, and anything and everything that we can do to push these things into our day. And then again, we have the culminating activities at every campus in the elementary buildings with the color run, or bring your grown up to PE, or anything that we can do that will make things exciting for brain health, body health, social emotional, and the whole tie-in. It's just a lot of excitement.
So Ashley, I'm just going to camp on this last question for you is, how are you able to develop a diverse team of wellness champions and committees to seriously advocate for this change?
So we did in the beginning. It was just a natural. I looked for the people that led those professional organizations within that WISC model, those 10 components. We built the original team from the components, and then from that just grew. So we have about 75 people that come to our health and wellness, policy meetings, and we set precedent, and we formulate our strategic plan based off of what our community believes is the important things. And guess what? Employee wellness, it's coming up and it's coming to the forefront. So when you have board members sitting there, and you have doctors, and you have parents that are listening to the needs of what your employees have, and stress, and the reason why wellness is so important, super powerful.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing. I loved your photos. That was fun. I'm sure our viewers could, obviously just helps put a context in. So Alex, I'm going to ask you the same question. How did you begin your employee well-being journey? What barriers did you face, and how did you overcome them?
Well, we were kind of a unique situation because we started grant-based. So the ball was kind of already rolling. With the Healthy Schools, Healthy Communities grant we had, we were kind of required to overhaul that wellness policy to build that strong leadership team. So we were learning to bring in, those SROs, the nurses, your counselors. So we were doing all of those steps. It was a small staff portion on the overall goal. So we kind of had to focus on that. And our superintendent actually at the time had been visiting with some other districts on some of the wellness things that they were doing. So we actually, me and our superintendent and one of our food service workers actually went and toured and met with them, kind of saw what they were doing for staff, how staff were buying in, and kind of used their programs at the time to kind of adopt where we started. But again, learning as you go, it definitely changed over the years. And you'll kind of see on one of my slides, we have some fitness opportunities, but I feel like when we first started in 2013, we kind of hit what people would say is initial wellness. We kind of hit that nutrition, we hit that fitness, but we didn't quite get the broader range of things. And that's, over the years, something that's become very important. But something that our staff always wanted was something that they could do on site, that it wasn't going to take away, more from their day than already coming to with their community and going home, and then they don't really have time to go to the gym. So we brought in some on-site opportunities. But like the world does, when we had COVID, we kind of had to get creative. And something we offer our staff now, and that we began offering them, is not only on site, but they actually have access to a free on-demand that they can do at home, or they can pull in a couple of their teachers and do maybe a little mental break with themselves during the day, so that they always have access to that. So we've kind of adapted through the years on that fitness side of it. And then again, we've also started bringing in more the bigger picture, the calming rooms, making sure that we're taking care of their physical and their mental health. So this is actually a brand new. I'm very excited about this. We've been working with another grant, the MACDD, that has been, bringing in that social emotional component that is so important for our staff. Dr. Krause said it earlier in the podcast, that our staff are so great at taking care of our students, but they're not always great at taking care of themselves. So we've been trying to bring in, those things for staff to take care of themselves, not only at home, but to be able to take care of themselves while they're at school.
Yeah, Alex, I just want to make one quick comment. I recently got one of those lights as well. And I'll be honest with you, it's actually helped a lot. I was like, it was suggested to me by someone on our team, and so I ended up getting one. And I'll be honest, calming rooms actually make a lot of sense. And
We-
I really got it now.
We have a fantastic team of counselors, and they kind of came up
Yeah.
with the resources that staff would really enjoy. And they really set up some beautiful spaces for staff to be able to go take a minute in their day when they need one.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right. Celebrations. What do you got?
Yes. So since we've been working on wellness since 2013, and again, it's been evolving, we've had some great strides, even though we've had challenges. We have become one of the nation's healthiest schools through the Alliance for a Healthier Generation a few years back. We
Yeah.
also applied for the Missouri Worksite Wellness Award. And we wanted to make sure we celebrate these things with staff so that they know all of the work that we're doing and what we're striving, and maybe that I'm always repetitively sending them things every week, but why we're doing it and why the big picture and why we should also celebrate those things. And not only celebrate those things, but also celebrate them, because some of those things that we have earned has been due to them and their hard work, not just, our hard work. Our wellness champions are out there working super hard at our district.
Absolutely. And you want to wrap us up on, with your annual fairs?
Yeah, so one of our big things when I first started our employee wellness is we always had an annual. They would come in, they would do, blood pressure checks, blood draws, and it was very sterile and it was very lowly attended, very lowly attended. And so that's something they wanted us to revamp. So we brought in fairs. So not only are, they getting their blood drawn, but we're also feeding them a healthy breakfast when they're done. And we're providing them vendors from local resources. So bringing in those community partners, our benefits, local eye doctors, local physicians, local gyms, just all the things that are right there at their fingertips that they may not know about, and in one place on a professional development day that they get to have access to all of that.
Well, that's pretty exciting. And thank you for sharing that. And last but not least, Chelsea, I want to ask you this question number 2. How did you begin your wellness journey, and what barriers did you encounter? And the most important part of it, how were you able to overcome them?
Well, when I came in, like I had said earlier, the program was already off and running. It was on, I would like to say, a little smaller scale. So when I came in and met with Dr. Cummins, I always kind of go big or go home, I said, you know what, I have an idea to make us more well-rounded in all areas. So like you will see in some of my slides, you start with just the basic health screenings like we did. And that was, everybody was used to that because that was already in place. But I really wanted to make sure that wasn't where it stopped. Because my biggest thing is when I started the district is I wanted to provide them resources at any given time. Anytime they needed to tap into something, I really wanted them to be able to go to something without having to contact somebody and waiting for an email. So I put together a wellness website. It's the Wellness Wheel of Health for the Neosho School District. And it has videos. It has items that they can check to see if, like, have you gone to the doctor? Have you gone to a community event? Have you gone to the farmer's market? So we're on a point system. But I just wanted them to be more accountable for health. We can all go to the doctor and then, this is what the doctor said. But if you're having to check in with accountability and making sure that it's not just check mark, you're actually starting to change your lifestyle and your mental thoughts about your whole well-being. So like this picture shows, this is our health fair. And I'm actually really excited about this because there's not as many people here, which you would think, she should be excited, not excited, but that means most of them are going to the doctor. So in our program, you can either go to the health fair that we offer to the staff at the beginning of the year, or you can go to your doctor. So those are 2 requirements to be a part of the wellness program. The wellness program is voluntary. However, you get a savings on your insurance if you're a part of it. So it's kind of a no-brainer, So they start the year off with they're going to the doctor or going to the health fair. And this clip that I have at the top, I don't know if it's active, but it is one of our fairs that we're going to do in April the 15th. It's called the We Care Fair. And I'll get into that. There's going to be more pictures about that too. But that encompasses community and the family and self and students and all that. So we'll get into that. But I just kind of, as you see these pictures, I want you to think about the whole person, like Dr. Krause was talking about, the whole being, like not just one aspect of it.
Right.
That more a balanced approach to wellness. So this is our staff fitness room. And I do believe this was provided to us from a grant that was received way back when the program started. So this is how the one in the middle was funded. The one off to the left is one of our elementaries, and staff room was funded by one of the grants that we received from the Missouri Healthy Schools. We received a lot of grants this year. We were very fortunate to get one from the Missouri Healthy Schools, CSPAP, and then we're also part of the National Association for Chronic Disease directors, like Alex had spoke about earlier. So some of that money went to the left. I always like to be a part of the race spirit of the high school, so that's my door. And I'm a registered yoga instructor, so I teach yoga all throughout the district to the staff and the students. I'm very fortunate to be able to share that with them. But it says namaste or namaste, like saying.
Okay.
But anyway, that just kind of, the students would walk by and laugh every time, just trying to bring morale. And then you can just see like our weight room right there.
Okay.
Next, this is our second annual event. We hold a 5K, and this is all of our staff. Some students, it's mostly for the families. So you can see at the top picture, my pictures are a little smaller. We had a huge showing for our first one and our second one. It's so great, but it's just put on by our wellness program. Those are my wellness champs to the left. They're amazing. I couldn't do, like I think Ashley mentioned it, or Alex, I couldn't do it with that one. They're the ones that are passionate, and they're in each building, and they are like the pulse of the school, and so they help me kind of see. They're like my eyes inside the schools when I'm not there. In the middle, we did a community run with some of our staff members. Some of that's the administration, and so they had a local race there, and so our program funded 25 people to run the race, and so we try to support getting outside in nature. That's part of the balance of the mental part of our bodies and our minds.
Yep. So Chelsea, with that, I just want to camp on this slide just a second longer. And I'm going to ask the same question that I've already previously asked, but how did you develop a diverse team of wellness champions and committees to advocate for this wellness change?
Well, when I started 4 years ago, we already had some champs in the buildings, and you can kind of get a sense of like, if their plate's too full, maybe you replace them. But I asked the principals. Asked the principals, who do you think would be a good leader for wellness in your school? Because they're the ones that are spreading the information that I'm not able to spread. You know what I mean? So I do ask the principals for their feedback on who they think would be able to, have the passion that I have in their schools.
Yeah. And what's our last slide?
So our last slide, I love this one. It's so much good. So the center picture shows our staff, our administration staff, eating an apple. We were part of the Missouri Apple Crunch Off.
Yes.
So that shocked me when they all had the apples and they were ready to crunch off. So they always go along with my craziness, and that's what's so fun about it all. A lot of support. On the left part of the grant that we received, we sent some educators to a conference in New York. In the middle, we offer nutritional classes. That's another thing, part of the wheel, trying to offer nutrition. We also offered a financial class to some of the staff. And then to the right, the most precious is the yoga with the students. I didn't want to get the staff because I don't know if they'd like that, but the students were all for it. But I teach the yoga to a lot of the PE classes. They let me come in there. And then the right up top, we're going to have the guest speaker, which is also going to be funded by one of the grants that we got coming in April. So I just try to make it as well-rounded as possible, try to hit all those areas. It's kind of difficult, but all you can do is try. And I think meeting the staff where they are at, because everybody is at a different place, whether they're physically okay, mentally okay, or opposite. And just giving them resources like My Wellness has so that they can tap into whatever they need at that time to support them.
Yeah. That's awesome. We've been doing media coverage on this for like the last 5 years. And what's I find so fascinating, and Dr. Kress, obviously this started with you because you were one of the early adopters, if you would. But the way you guys have gone about breaking those silos and getting people to work together to get that buy-in has just been phenomenal stories. And so with that, I want to now go to Alex for our third question. And Alex, what impact has your employee well-being initiative had on your employees, district, and even your culture of your school?
Yeah, so I feel like it's had a huge impact. I mean, for our staff, kind of like Chelsea, they do get a incentive towards their insurance premium, but it's just made them more provoking when it comes to their health. I don't typically, go to the doctor or do these things, but if I do now, then I get this incentive. And so it's just kind of teaching them to make their health more of a forefront. And then for us, COVID impacted a lot of districts, and then it's just been, a lot of districts have struggled with turnover and staffing, and morale has been up and down. And I feel like when we survey staff, one of their benefits, or one of the things that they always at least talk kindly about, is the wellness offerings for staff. And it's because I feel like our wellness offerings that we've changed throughout the years, again, kind of meet them where they are. It hits all aspects. We're not just awarding those people who run marathons. We're also taking care of people that are taking care of their mental health. So just really kind of rewarding our staff. It doesn't matter where they are in their journey in health, if they're more of a fitness minded, or if they're more of a mental health minded person, but it's just letting them know that we are giving them, resources and accolades for them actually taking care of themselves. And for us, there's just been a lot of resources that we actually have within our community that they weren't taking advantage of, or they didn't know. We had resources from our benefits, like counseling sessions, that again weren't being utilized because the communication wasn't there, because there wasn't a wellness person in place to communicate this with our staff. So I feel like just communication with our staff has improved with our wellness efforts.
And Alex, with that, how are you guys able to engage in assessment and feedback from the staff?
Yeah, so for me, I communicate with staff weekly through like a Wellness Wednesday newsletter. And then typically we survey them. It's changed a little bit over the years. We have a PR person now that helps us with this, but nice. I usually always survey them after our annual screening day in the fall, because, we bring in vendors. I like to know what they like, what they don't like, if the date we picked was okay. But then she also does a survey every spring that is way more in depth than just wellness, but it does cover wellness to kind of see where they are. And then we actually now have a climate and culture team that meets annually, that goes over things like that as well. They actually meet way more than annually, but they assess that as well.
Absolutely. All right, that's awesome. So let's go to Dr. Krause. Same question. What impact has your employee well-being initiative had on your employees, obviously your school district, as well as the culture of the school?
So I think it has made us much more intentional. I think I told somebody that when we started off with WISC in 2019, no one wanted to sign up for the subgroup of employee wellness. And I think we had our lone little insurance person there, and that was it. And no one would come to our table or want to be a part of it. And, fortunately or unfortunately, like mentioned before, the pandemic it changed some things. And I think that that internalization of, I have to take care of myself. And there does have to be that balance, even though, you can't balance everything all at the same time, but there has to be some intentionality with prioritizing some things. Yep. I think that our initiative has bled into other areas. I think that before we really focused on that physical fitness or just healthy well-being physically. And now more than anything, we really have moved into that behavioral health area, social and emotional needs. I feel like we're with one another because it's super intentional, and this is what we are and what we're going to do. And if we're not doing well, we have people that we can go to talk about that, and then we can problem solve. And sometimes that shows up. They'll tell us every time, the little tiny things that we're doing are making big differences. And I think Alex mentioned, she has Wellness Wednesday. Ours is so silly. It was something starting off to kick up a little bit of the morale with just like, let's dress down on Wednesdays and let's start to wear our yoga attire, or we're going to do this. And that was getting kids out there in the sunshine, but it was also doing something for ourselves. And then making sure that we were reaching out to for our tap out partners, or whoever we needed to reach out to for supportive pieces with one another.
So Ashley, with that, how did you engage in assessment and feedback from your staff to continuously adapt and certainly pivot as you refine your wellness programs?
So interestingly enough, within the state of Missouri, obviously everybody has to do a comprehensive school improvement plan, and portions of that have to be your culture and climate and movement. So whether you want to do it or not, you're doing a survey. So, and some of those questions on there, they humble you. So, surveys are always something that we put out. And I think most educators do, most people working in the field of education do that. You always want to seek feedback, whether it's, what was challenging about what you just learned, what was challenging about what we just experienced, what was good, what did you make connections with? So again, as we send those things out, a lot of observational data, but then also looking at, what does our attendance look like? What does, what does our retention and recruit look like within our district? So all of those pieces are areas that we look at whenever we are gathering all the data.
Absolutely. Thank you again for all those insights. And last but not least, Chelsea, we're going to give this question to you. What impact has your employee well-being initiative had on your employees, your district, and certainly the school culture?
Yeah, I'll ditto what both of the ladies said. Spot on, right on. I honestly, I think it's been it's been very, I guess, a good awareness to our staff and our admin and the students, because our approach is for everyone. And I will use an example, and I think Ashley talked about this. Like after COVID, we were all just like, everybody was just so like, it was just so much, right? So your mind is not never turning off, and there's just so many things going on. So I will give a huge credit to our superintendent. I talk to him every year, like, what do you think we should focus on? And so he said, what about gratitude? What about just taking it? Like, what are we grateful for? We set the year off with a gratitude challenge, and it went off like hotcakes. And the best thing was the teacher said, we do this with our students. So there's the connection right there. We're starting on the same page when we start the class. So just being, like, I think Ashley just said, intentional about what we are wanting the staff to improve on or feel about themselves. And if you take it back to gratitude and what we're thankful for and what we're lucky to have each day, that puts it all in perspective. Yes, we could be having a hard day, but did we wake up to a family that loves us? You know what I mean? Just kind of that kind of thing. So I will say that having those awareness challenges, that awareness in that certain challenge kind of just set the mood for the year, and so it's in everything. And then I get emails saying, hey, can we do that one challenge again? Like, I get a lot of feedback. And at first I didn't. But now when you start targeting what is really needed, and most of the time it's the physical, it's more of the emotional. It's more of that connection with your mind and your body and how you're feeling internally. I think it really did spark a big thing with our district and our staff. I think the culture, I think when they see me, they probably want to run away when they see me in the hallway because they know that I'm going to talk about wellness, but it's in their mind, like, oh, I need to deep breathe whenever I'm feeling stressed. You know what I mean? Like, we're trying to really hit that home as taking care of self, taking those brain breaks, taking those breath breaks to make yourself feel better. So that when you walk into the classroom, you're already on an even keel. And then whatever the students throw at you, you're maybe able to handle it a little bit better. So just being like the theme, just being about self and understanding where you are at that moment, taking care of that, and then moving forward from there.
Wow. Look, they're not going to run away from you. You know that. They love you. Come on. All right. How do you engage in the assessment? I
feel like some of them duck out. They do duck out.
Well, I get it. But I will say this, the gratitude piece, the university that I actually teach at, we actually just got done doing that just last month. And I will say this, it has had a great impact on our culture with our students, with our staff, and with our faculty. And so I couldn't agree with you more on that. It's really impactful. It's something I think every school should try or do at least once throughout the year, because I can tell you this, it was pretty impactful. So to kind of wrap up on this segment, how did you engage in the assessment and feedback from your staff to continually adapt and refine your wellness programs?
We do, like a lot of school districts do, we do our surveys.
Yep.
And specific questions about what worked, what didn't work. We were, for the first time last year, I was able to get a grant like I spoke about. And that was the first time I had ever filled out the SHI index. And it was eye-opening. I had a team of, I had coaches, I had counselors. And that's another thing too, is like really, we try to connect the counselors, the nurses, everyone, so that we're all on the same page when we're dealing whether with staff or with students. So I really do feel like that SHI index was just awesome. I mean, it was really, areas you thought you knew you were okay, you could improve on. So it's humbling. You know what I mean?
It is. I've had the privilege of listening to Dr. Krause in some of her sessions at some of these conventions and conferences talking about that exact same thing. Sometimes what you think you're going to see, you don't see. And then sometimes you're surprised, pleasantly surprised by other data that just boom pops up in front of you. So yeah. So with that, ladies, we're going to actually just take a little change and shift. I'm going to bring on Jimmy from Missouri Healthy Schools. Jimmy's right here. Jimmy Hale, bring him on. Jimmy, how are you doing?
Hey, Guy, doing great. How are you?
Good, good, good. So what are your thoughts though so far on what our guests had to share?
Wow, what a bunch of rock stars. When we first started talking about putting together a podcast that focused on employee well-being, I circled the date on my calendar because I know just how important it is and how often staff are neglected. One thing that I've learned, though, over many years is that you have to take care of the people who are taking care of the students.
Right.
Our goal at Missouri Healthy Schools is to support student health in as many ways as possible, which we know through research and data will increase their overall success now and in the future. The whole school, whole community, whole child model really is what guides our efforts.
Yep.
And you've heard that talked about a little bit throughout the program tonight. Every single school employee, no matter what their role may be, contributes somehow to the mission of helping kids each and every day. And Guy, the bottom line is that when school staff feel their best, they can give their best efforts. And when they're at their best, they're more likely to have a positive impact on students. And an employee wellness program is going to help to make that happen. And we've listened to some shining examples of school districts that are making huge strides with their staff care programs. It's so inspiring to hear some of the amazing things that they're doing to support their colleagues, sharing their journeys and how they overcame obstacles to get to where they're at today. And we hope that this is going to help other school districts that are looking to get amazing results for their staff and students as well.
Absolutely. So Jimmy, I know we want to take it up a notch, and let's try to I understand we have another special guest that's going to come on. I'll let you introduce her. And I guess we're going to now take this from a national perspective on kind of the same topic that we're talking on. So with that, you want to tee up our next speaker?
Absolutely. It's definitely my pleasure, Guy, to introduce Heidi Milby. Heidi has spent her career helping students and families and communities to become healthier. She received her bachelor's degree from the University of Georgia, master's degree in public health from Indiana University at Bloomington. She's also a certified bilingual educator and spent a decade directing health programs and training teams in the Chicago area. She's now the Associate Director for Advancing Healthy Communities with the National Association of Chronic Disease Directors. Her expertise ranges from school health and wellness to mental and behavioral health to emotional well-being and supports for worksite wellness. And that's just to name a few, Guy. And what's really great is that she has a unique perspective, like you mentioned, and sees things through a local, state, and national lens. And so I think that's going to be very helpful to our listeners tonight. And so with that being said, Heidi, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. What a glowing introduction. I feel so honored. And it's just been so nice to listen in and kind of hear. I mean, I know the work that Alex and Chelsea have done just through our partnership together. But Ashley, to hear about the work y'all have been doing, just it's awesome. It's really awesome. And, I think it's reflective of a lot of what we're seeing in other states. And truly, I mean, paving the way too for a lot of the work that other states still have to do themselves when it comes to school employee well-being.
Absolutely. So Heidi, I got a question for you. So how are they addressing employee well-being? Certainly, how are they addressing and offering support? And I'll leave the last piece in just a second about the resources, but let's start with the first couple of questions. How from a national perspective are we addressing employee well-being?
Yeah. So, I mean, Dr. House, I think you mentioned this. Employee well-being was a priority well before COVID, but COVID kind of put it, and you couldn't ignore it, right? Like
Right.
the stress we were feeling, the need to take care of ourselves. So that's, I think, the biggest thing that we've seen recently is the uptick in school districts focusing on school employee well-being as a result of what we saw during COVID. So you see that in funding. So CDC, for example, is now specifically funding school employee well-being. You see that in resources that are available. In the last 6 months, there's been several comprehensive toolkits released around school employee well-being. You see that in districts doing the work. And what I think is so exciting is you see a shift in focusing on self-care, which we've talked a lot about and is absolutely critical, but doing that and building in systems and supports so that it goes beyond self-care. So that's been really exciting. And, you know, some of the things I think that we've seen is, so we've seen integration with human resources, right? So we've worked so siloed before, but we're starting to see human resources staff serve on wellness committees and starting to look at employee assistance program data and having that impact what's happening with the wellness program. So I think that's really exciting to see more of that integration. We're also seeing school districts adopt kind of typical academic frameworks like the multi-tiered systems of support that, you know, might traditionally be used in an academic setting with students or might traditionally be used with mental health with students, but applying that to school employee well-being. So thinking about, you know, at that tier 1 level, how are we supporting all school employees, you know, through things like newsletters and programming offered to all, but then how are we starting to target employees that might need additional support? So I think I heard someone earlier talk about tapping in, tapping out as kind of an additional support for staff that might need to take a break for a minute. So we're starting to see, you know, strategies like that. And then of course that tier 3, right? Those school employees that need access to therapy and to other services through employee assistance programs. So I think that that's really exciting because then we're reaching more employees than really we ever have before. And it's a much more comprehensive approach to school employee well-being.
So Heidi, I'm gonna bring this up for you so that you can kind of, you know, go through this.
Yeah. So, you know, this is something that we're seeing. Again, as I mentioned, we're seeing this focus on more comprehensive approaches. So I always like when I'm working with school districts to encourage them to think about, you know, what are you doing at those various levels? So what you see there on the left-hand side of the screen, that actually came from Sean Slade, who I know Dr. Cross mentioned earlier, who has worked on the WISC model. It comes from an article that he wrote during COVID, where we were really trying to move beyond self-care, right? We get a lot of attention with self-care, but let's move to more strategies that focus on that interpersonal piece, that group piece, and then of course that system piece. So I think that's just a great image and a good reminder that we need to do all levels. And then if you look on the right-hand side, this is a very similar framework, but one that I think is it's simple, it's practical, right? You know, no matter where you are with your school employee well-being program, using a framework like this is a good place to start, to take a look at, you know, okay, what are we doing at the individual level, right? Are we offering mindfulness or yoga classes? Do we have staff wellness rooms like Alex had showed before? Like, how are we addressing those individual needs? Then looking at interpersonal, how are you addressing interpersonal needs, the relationships? So that's things like, how are staff interacting with each other? Do you have professional development that encourages interaction? How are staff and leadership interaction? Are there feedback loops, you know, for staff to provide feedback to leadership, and are leadership hearing them? So that's, you know, some examples at the interpersonal level. And then at the organizational level, that's when it comes to, you know, things like employee assistance programs. Are we compensating staff that are going above and beyond so that staff feel valued? Some of those more kind of systematic challenges. And so again, I go back to when we think about school employee well-being, to do it in a comprehensive way. These are just kind of 2 ways of thinking about it. And it's a great place to start, just to kind of assess, you know, where you're at and where there might be gaps and what you might want to try to kind of grow, you know, what you're already doing.
So Heidi, it's really cool that you talked about that, because we're seeing, again, we continue to evolve, and that's what everyone's been trying to do, is to evolve. And with that, you know, how are now we offering support?
Yeah, so, you know, there's several resources that we'll share in advance, but where I'm seeing kind of that need for support is around that diversity and that inclusion piece,
Yeah.
right? So, it's more than educators. We have to think about all of our school employees, and that may impact how we engage with folks. So, for example, we might have some school employees that aren't regularly checking email. Is there a way we can communicate wellness messages to them in a different way where it's going to be accessible? So that's something that we're starting to see more supports around that. Child Trends, for example, in the last 6 months released a new toolkit that provides a step-by-step approach for how do you implement a comprehensive school employee well-being initiative with that focus on making sure the right folks are at the table from the get-go, and that we're being really thoughtful about inclusion and diversity, to make sure that everyone, is able to kind of get their needs met. Like Chelsea mentioned, right? Everyone's got different needs. And by thinking about those various needs, that can impact how we do the work. So, I would say that's kind of the support piece. And, beyond some of those resources, so NACDD about several years ago put out a comprehensive school employee well-being toolkit that I still go to this day because the ideas are just great. There's tons of templates in there. CDC's got some great resources. Sophie's another organization that put out a nice kind of step-by-step guide with lots of practical tips. So I always direct folks to those because I think, at the end of the day, we get our best ideas from other people. So hearing from others, like these three phenomenal individuals on the call, and then referring to toolkits that give you kind of those concrete examples is the only way that, we can kind of grow that knowledge base of what to do and how to keep it interesting and, try new things, right? I think at the end of the day, it's like, you got to try some stuff. Sometimes it might flop, right? You might get 10% of the people that you wanted to show up. So try something else and do something a little bit differently. I think that's what makes this work fun.
Yeah. And with that, Heidi, I just want to say thank you for providing these resources to us. So what we're going to do, if you're watching the replay, or even certainly if you're watching live, when we put out the replay tomorrow morning, we're actually going to take all those resources that Heidi mentioned. They'll be embedded in the description of the podcast. So they'll be there with live links. So again, Heidi, thank you so much for providing that for us. And now what I'd like to do, kind of put a bow on this, bring Jimmy back. Jimmy, we heard Heidi talk about her resources, but where's also one of the best places you can go to get the latest information at Mo Healthy Schools? You want to speak to that a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. mohealthyschools.com. If you go to our website, we've got a team of experts, some of the top people in their respective fields, and they are able to provide assistance to any of our folks that are really wanting to achieve maximum wellness for their staff. And again, when you're achieving maximum wellness for your staff, that translates into maximum student success as well. So mohealthyschools.com is a great place to start.
Absolutely. And again, I just put that on the screen for everyone. The link you really want to click on is that resource library. And it's something I know that our team, Jimmy, has been working on for quite some time, but you're exactly right. So with that, Jimmy, you kind of want to, kind of wrap up the show and wrap up the podcast from your perspective. We certainly want to thank all our guests, but again, Jimmy, this is always great to be able to put this on on behalf of certainly Missouri Healthy Schools.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And so these ladies absolutely delivered tonight. I think, once in a while, when the stars in the sky all kind of line up, you see amazing things. And I think with all the information that our guests and experts provided tonight, we're seeing some amazing things. And I just want to thank them all for sharing their journeys. Because, it's not all rainbows and unicorns, right? I mean, there's trials and tribulations. There's going to be obstacles that, people have to overcome and figure out in their own communities. But hearing these schools that have done that, they've been there, they've done it, and they're moving forward and advancing the well-being of their staff is just truly inspiring. And so, again, I want to thank you all for all of your input and for being with us tonight. And hopefully the information that we provided can help another school district on their journey as well.
Yeah. Heidi, any last word?
I'm just feeling inspired. I'm tired, but I'm truly feeling inspired. And Ashley, I hope we get a chance to work together in the future. I'm inspired by the work that you've been doing, and it's been great working with Alex and Chelsea here in Missouri, and learning from them and the work that they're doing, and sharing that in other states to try and have other states catch on to some of the great work that's happening. So thank you all. Thank you all for having me. It's been a really enjoyable evening.
Well, absolutely. Thank you, Heidi. So, Ashley, Alex, and Chelsea, I want to thank you so much for being our guest this evening. Obviously, you all can catch this on the replay. We're also going to have this on our Twitter. We're going to have this on our website, as Jimmy talked about earlier, at Mo. I'll pop it up there one more time. There's the resource at mohealthyschools.com. And ladies, again, thank you for sharing your amazing stories, your journeys. Again, I know they're always a works in progress, but all the three of you are having a tremendous impact on what is going on in the world of employee well-being right here in our state of Missouri. And we're all better for it. So continue fighting the good fight. We want to thank you all for watching it right here as MHS Podcast Live. As again, tonight we talked about employee wellness as it pertains particularly in schools right here in Missouri. Thank you all for watching, and catch us on the replay. And we'll see you all soon.
Thank you.